Hello, hello, hello. I am just getting some sound situations going here. Testing. Can you hear me? Okay. Hello. All right. So I am going to assume that you definitely can hear me here. Okay. So I can definitely see your comments here. Oh, that's what we needed to do. Ooh, how do I do that here? Save video. Settings, interactivity. Okay, let's go back to my page here. Because I don't think y'all know that I am live right now. Okay, where's my live video? Here we go. All right, I had to correct it so we'll show up in the feed. There we go, so I can see the comments coming in. All right, we doing this from the desktop on tonight. That's why, yeah, I would usually have my cell phone down here. Um, but I deleted my Facebook app off of my cell phone. Shout out to me because I'm trying to do better for Lent in the season of fasting. That's one thing I needed to get off of my phone. So we had to figure out how to do that on Facebook. And last time y'all said y'all couldn't see me. So yeah, this is another episode of Embracing Brilliance with Dr. Kim. I am Dr. Kim. If you are seeing this right now, that means you are catching me live. If it's outside of this date and time, shout out to the replay viewers. Thank you so much for being here on tonight as well. Go ahead and say hey to me in the comments and let me know where you are chiming in from. Let me know that you are here. I do greet you in the comment section as well. If you are on YouTube or if you didn't know, I do have a YouTube channel. So by all means, you are welcome to come to YouTube and subscribe there over at Align with Dr. Kim. That is my handle. If you're on Facebook, or one of my business pages, that means you know me and you my friends, one of my beloved friends on my friend list. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're catching the replay, like I said, shout out to you. Say hey to me in the comments because I do come back and read them and I want to shout you out as well. So, I am Dr. Kim of Align with Dr. Kim, where we heal from burnout and create balance so we can embrace brilliance and our well-being. We want to express all things. Alignment is all about living the life that God divinely designed for all of us. And I am all about you having more of that. The problem on tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is burnout. So we're talking this entire month about burnout, and this happens to be Women Women's History Month, I believe. And women really go through a lot with burnout. I think where men go through it as well. I think women are more verbal about their burnout and they're more verbal about the loads of stress that they are facing and they're more talkative about it, whereas men don't discuss it in that way or deal with it in that way. But I am grateful that there are some amazing brothers out there, some amazing men out there who have platforms dedicated to uplifting the men and talk about burnout with men as well. So our topic on tonight is signs that you're in a burnout cycle and how to gently remove yourself, how to gently exit out of those things. So tonight, we're gonna start off talking about recognizing burnout, some ways you can come out of it, and towards the end, we're gonna talk about how you can create your own personalized recovery plan. That is something that I found helpful for myself. And I know it's something that would be helpful for you, especially if you find yourself going in and out of burnout or high amounts of stress, and you're looking at ways to stabilize, ways to balance it. I will tell you in the beginning here, one reason is because you have not identified the root cause of the stresses in your life. So, burnout. Why is burnout so prevalent among high achieving women or high achieving people? First off, well, we have, and I say we because I am also in that category, we have some high standards, maybe even perfectionistic. You may not be a perfectionist, but you may have perfectionistic standards. That means standards that are extremely high and may lead you to criticize yourself severely. These standards are higher than what God even expects of you, and sometimes you put those standards on other people as well. These are one of the reasons why we exist in those burnout cycles. There's burnout and then there's like a cycle. So burnout really will have an ending to it. It's a whole beginning, middle, and end, and things are back to normal. Burnout cycle is you start off in a honeymoon phase. Next thing you know, you're in the thick of things. You're depleted. You get a little bit of rest, and then you're right back into those cycles over and over and over again. But no matter what area of life it is, and I will go ahead and tell you now, no matter where you find yourself in the cycle of burnout, one constant remains. And that constant is you, dear, and me as well, because I go through those things. Well, I have gone through those things as well. I've learned to put some markers and stoppers in place so I can prevent burnout going forward. So, I talked about the perfectionism. I talked about having high standards. Women have so, and I'm talking about women here. I'm going to be talking to the ladies specifically, but I've already stated that men go through these things as well. Having multiple roles, multiple responsibilities. Women are expected to be in family, to be in career, to uphold commitments, to take care of community, even having their own personal aspirations. So trying to balance all of these things can lead to those cycles of burnout. And then the emotional labor that we put into those places as well. So it's not only just existing in those places, but participating fully and sometimes even only to our own detriment in those spaces. Society has expectations, excuse me, of our gender and of our role. We are expected by society to be able to succeed and perform in all of those roles that I just mentioned before, and being able to constantly produce versus perform in those different roles. And if you don't perform at a certain level, then that leads to it kind of cracks your self-worth sometimes. And the comparison of how this mom is in this environment, and this person is a CEO, and they got kids, and they got a successful marriage, and all of those type of things where people are measuring each other against so many uh, different aspects of life. There's also having a lack of self boundaries, having a lack of self care practices in your life, or not understanding what you need for self care. And by the way, if you are on your self care journey and you are looking for ways to start strategize your self care, go ahead and download my free e guide about going from burnout into brilliance. It's your self care transformation guide. And I structured that to specifically take you through a week where you could set up the things that you need to do. You can identify those things, and also you can find out where you are on the burnout level and some wonderful practices you can do. That's all for free. You can download that on my Pinsite page, and it's listed in the links below here, this video as well. So having a proper self-care routine, or the absence of it, I should say, will lead to burnout cycles. So let's start talking about, what is burnout? Let's go through that again. I have my water here tonight as well. 'Cause why we need to be moisturized. We need to be moisturized in life, y'all. That's a life lesson. So I'm gonna be sipping on this periodically. And I hope you are hydrating as well. Hydration is good for your mind, your body, and your soul. Speaking of mind, body, and soul, that's where burnout will affect you. It affects you physically. Those are the headaches, stomach aches, the knots, the difficulty digesting food, the acid reflux or the GERD, the heart palpitations, the emotional side of it, meaning you just detached, you've checked out, you feel helpless, you're irritated all the time, you feel like you're cutting people off at the pass, you're not being sweet or nice to anyone, all because you're irritated because there's something on the inside of you that hadn't been paid attention to, or something going on that you have not addressed right at this moment. And also, it shows up in your behavior. You may not be finding yourself enjoying the things that you once enjoyed before. Your performance levels at work or in your personal aspirations just may not be there. You may even be beating yourself up saying, "Man, I didn't do anything of my goals," but you've been exhausted. And resting is okay. And I understand being in that place where you are resting, you're taking time to rest, but your mind is still going because you've got all of these wonderful things you want to conquer, or you got all of these due dates, or people needing so many type of things. It's because you haven't set some boundaries in place, you haven't set systems in place to handle all of those things so you can truly release all of the things that you are thinking about that's causing you to have basically emotional and mental constipation. All of those things backed up in your mind, when they're not able to flow out and there's no way to handle it, it will cause you to feel like you are lacking in life, or that you are behind in life, when in reality, you are not. You're just exhausted, you're frustrated, and you need to find a better way of doing things that will serve you and the people that you love. So those are some of the signs of burnout. I have a little markers here that I'm going through as well. So let's talk about the stages of burnout, the different stages that people go through. I talked about it before, and the cycle of burnout starts with the honeymoon phase, and then it ends with like a habit. It's consistently going on forward and forward and forward. So there's the honeymoon phase, there's the onset of stress, there's then chronic stress that happens, burnout happens, and then there's habitual burnout. So in research, and basically all of the therapists and our mental health experts, all of them have all agreed upon these 5 stages of burnout. In the e-guide that I told you about with downloading, I described my own take on the burnout cycle as well, and I simplified it in a way that you may understand, so you can be able to identify where you are and what you need to take as well. So download that free guide. It's in my pin site link, and it's at the bottom of the video here in the description as well. Yeah. Back to those stages. Honeymoon stage simply means that high, you're going on everything is going well, you're optimistic about things, you're eager to take on work. You're the type of person that has trouble saying no. You're saying yes to everything. "Yeah, I can be there. Yes, I can do that. Yes, 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 yes." You the yes woman. You taking on so many things. You're optimistic. "Yeah, I can do that." And the thought of biting off more than you never once crosses your mind. But that's what the honeymoon phase is. Everything feels great. We wanna do all the things. Onset of stress is realizing that, you know what, I have been having some difficult days. Some symptoms are starting to come in, like being irritable, just saying things like, I really hadn't had a lot of time for myself lately. And especially if you're an introvert, you may go shutdown mode because or moving slow through things because you have not recognized your cues and when you need to recharge with those things as well. But that's the second phase is when the own stress is starting to trickle and come in. You're kind of like, whew, you're juggling all the things. And it's like, wow, this is getting kind of heavy. But you're still pressing forward, you're still going. Then there's onset, chronic. After the onset of stress, that's the beginning of the symptoms. You start to feel the heaviness. Then it's titled chronic stress. That's when it's persistent. Things just are not letting up. You're juggling 3 things, and the next thing you look up, you got 15 things in your hand. That is chronic, and it's been going on for a long time. You're participating in this. You're making progress, but you're having to do so many things to prepare in this area of life over here while you're trying to meet all of your friends and have this social life. And you're having to do extra research and tasks while you're at work, all of these things. And I know this is making sense because you're picking up what I'm putting down. I know you are. So after so much of being in a chronic level of stress, your body is starting to tap you on the shoulder. You got the tension in your body. You may not be sleeping well at night. Then the next part of it is the actual burnout. Burnout happens when your body is no longer starting to like, you're juggling all the things where your hands are not working anymore, you're just in still mode, or some people get extra, extra fast, it just depends on your nervous system and how your body works. So, this is like the how it slowly starts to go up and up and up and increase in the stress. While at the same time, your life is going on a decline, your happiness is going on a decline, your joy is going on a decline with those things because everything is going, going, going. You take some vacations, you get to the weekend, and oh my gosh, it's like, where did time go? So, this is where it may be time to get some professional help when you're in the burnout mode. But this is why we're talking about this in the signs of burnout, and we're talking about these different experiences because you may not even know. I didn't know. I didn't know that's what it was. The way my programming and my mental system was going was, "Hey, I just gotta keep putting one foot ahead of the other, one foot ahead of the other." I was carrying so many things on my shoulders, and when I started having issues in my physical body, it started showing up in my emotions first. I could not it started to look like depression. It started to look like locking up with anxiety. It looked like waking up in panic sweats and fear in the middle of the night because all of these things were going on. And yeah, some people have anxiety attacks from things that are unresolved, unprocessed, or you've got a consistent amount of stress or overload going in multiple areas of your life, and it's affecting how your brain is processing things even when you try to sleep. After that level, if that's the norm, your body is starting to think also that this is the norm. You've got higher levels of cortisol in your system. You don't understand why your weight is going up and down. You've been back and forth to the doctors with things. Your labs aren't showing anything. The tests that they're running aren't showing anything, but you're taking meds and you still just don't feel quite that well. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking medication and going to get your labs and your checkups and everything done, but also it's important to handle what's going on emotionally, what's going on in your life as well. Y'all ever been to the doctor? And I am a doctor. I'm a chiropractor. And you talked about your level of stress, and it's like they can relate to you because they got the same amount of stress. But they just, everybody has a different way of dealing with it, but you kinda leave without any answers. "Yeah, that was me." "Well, you gotta get the stress down." I could talk about that at another time, the different answers that I got, but I needed somebody that would basically take me through the process of simplifying my life because I had so much going on. The things that I learned to do is now what I do for other people to help them in those processes as well because I if I would have had someone like that, oh my gosh. But going forward, the stages of burnout with that. After that, the habitual burnout is when health just really severely checked out and you have the issues going on in your body, but it doesn't seem like you can find an answer, or it may be okay sometimes, but then you get into major things like antidepressants and all of those type of things, and you just don't understand how to climb out of it. It's like you're just in this hole, and that's the point where we don't want to go. That's what I want to talk about on tonight, of how to recognize that cycle and how to gently start coming out of it. Because trying to snatch yourself out of it sometimes can be a little violent, and it can also trigger some trauma in you as well to be in a state of resistance. That's why making slow steps and coming out of it is something that will last. It will help you in your journey with starting to, find your way to normal again, find your way to what soothes you and what relaxes you in a healthy way, and ultimately, what type of lifestyle do you want to lead? Because truly, if you ended up in that place, and I've been there, it's like, "Okay, I'm not at a crossroad, I'm at the end of a road somewhere and it don't look nice around me." And you want to start pivoting and go in another direction so you can get to your promise and so you can get to the things that God has for you. Those are what the stages of burnout look like. So when you're in a place of perpetual, uh, those perpetual burnout cycles, things can feel really heavy, and it's like, do I bring on other people? Do I delegate? Do I bring people in? You can. To start getting some things off of your plate, you have to start releasing some things that you're holding on to. Sometimes that starts internally in your internal life, and there's also your external life with it. But we're gonna get to the ways to exit pretty soon here, but I just wanted to tell you that right ahead. But let me keep going because this is so good. So there are dips and there are cycles. So we talked about the cycle. So the difference between the dip and the cycle is the dip has an ending and it's temporary. And the cycle is something that consistently goes. It's like a recurring pattern. Things are not addressed and things are getting worse and worse and worse. So the dip, you can identify the stressor, you can remove it. That's when you know you just okay. I had a slip up with this and going through some high levels of stress. I know how to solve this, problem solve. It's over with. I can leave it. I can exit those things. But when you're in the cycle, it's like it keeps progressively getting worse no matter what you're doing. And those are the things that we don't want. So, on to the point of how to exit the burnout cycle. When it, no matter what level it is, whether it's the honeymoon, It would be great if we could catch ourselves in the honeymoon phase, and we're gonna talk about that as well. The different things that we can do to, um, help put preventative measures in place so we'll know we are not going overboard with things. And that's a challenge for people who are high achievers, people who give their all, people who love hard, people who put their all into different projects that they do. We have to have things set in place to make sure we don't go overboard past that honeymoon phase and get into a level of chronic stress. So, what does gently exiting look like in this process? So, number one is prioritizing rest, going to sleep, taking a break, taking a break every day. Getting into the habit of taking 5-minute breaks throughout the day to check in with yourself, to just go outside and get a change of scenery. And I know some people are saying right now, "Well, how can I get away from this? Like this." If you taught people that in order for them to operate well and do well, you have to be in the room, that is something you have to change immediately. And that starts with a level of communication and saying, "Hey, I'm noticing that I'm at capacity right now. This is more than I can than I have the, ability to give my best to right now. So let's rebrief here in about 10 minutes. Go ahead and do the things that you can do with this process, and let's check back in at blank time with it. So that way you can start removing yourself from it, and you can also start training up the other people around you to fit in their perspective roles. I was just having a conversation with a young lady I met this weekend about how we have to take responsibility for how we train people around us. And even when we're starting to slowly step back away from that, it can be tough because that person has now become dependent on us. And really, we've sort of cut that person off from their own empowerment, if that makes any sense. If I have hired a manager to come in and do things, and for some reason I'm micromanaging them or they're just pulling on me so much, I need to start giving them more responsibility and more tasks, even in the shortest of ways so they can handle things. But those I'm going way deep into it, but having someone to manage things or communicating that you're at capacity will give you room so you can prioritize rest within yourself in that process. And I can do a whole live on rest. Y'all let me know if you want me to talk more about rest as well. In that example, also setting boundaries is in there. Understanding that your work does not have to be your life. And your life does not have to be your work. The 2 can exist in harmony with one another. You can work and you can have a style of work and a type of work that is in harmony, or is that in agreement with the type of lifestyle that you want to have, and vice versa with it. Those things haven't you require you to put the boundaries in place so you can say no to work when it's time to say no. So you can say yes to life opportunities when those life opportunities come up, and you can do it full flavor. You can do it with your full self and with your full heart and fully enjoy those things. So setting boundaries to have work-life harmony, or some people work-life balance, is something that can help you get to that point. Practicing self-compassion is another one that I talk about. Having compassion on yourself. I think I say this just about every time we meet. Having self-compassion is practicing kindness within yourself. The same empathy and grace that you give to a friend, you give it to yourself. And yes, it takes practice sometimes to do those things. It takes practice in order to let things go and to start with those processes as well. So, one type of way to practice self-compassion that I like to talk about is self-talk. Self-talk is, how can I say this? When you're trying to go for something or there's something new in your life going on, pay attention to the chatter and the thoughts that you have in your mind, and it will give you an idea of where your self-talk is. If it's negative, neutral, if it's positive, if it's uplifting, if it's critical, all of those, if it's doubting, if it's questioning you, all of those type of things. We have to develop the type of self-talk that reflects us, that reflects our higher self, or that reflects our best self, that reflects what God has for us, what God wants for us. I call it, being your own cheerleader, being your own hype woman, being your own hype man, because you won't be able to run to a friend all of the time. And it's good to have friends, but they won't be there all of the time. Our main support system and foundation, the foundation of your support system should start within you and what you want in your life. And definitely falling back onto your faith and upholding your faith and your belief and your strength that God gives you through Him as well should be within that foundation. So having ways that you can practice self-compassion and practice those positive ways of speaking to yourself will definitely help you come out of the burnout cycle. Being in that phase where there's chronic stress, I think in the example I gave before when I was saying I gotta just keep putting one step ahead of the other. I was continuing in the cycle with this. So you want to make sure you're directing yourself or encouraging yourself into a prosperous path. There will be a lot of opportunities to pivot along the way in order to get to that prosperity and in order to get to the place where you need to get to as well. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is big. Forgive yourself. Just go ahead and forgive yourself for, doing the things that got you to this point. Forgive other people for not being there the way that you want them to be there for you. Forgive yourself for the mistakes that you made in the past, when you felt like you should have been able to give at a certain point, or you should have been able to have a certain experience. Forgiveness, because you deserve to move forward. Forgiveness is never for the other person. Forgiveness is alwaalways for you. It's you opening the door for yourself. It's you letting go of the poison and dropping it instead of trying to throw it on other people. Because anytime we try to throw poison at other people, it always some type of way gets in our system as well, because you're the one that's holding it and the poison is coming out of you. So having that self-compassion will help you to gently exit those cycles. What does a so I've talked about, what burnout is, the reality of what burnout cycles look like, and some ways, some practices that you can have to exit the burnout cycle. And we have that free guide that I told you about that you can download on my Pinside page to help you with that part as well. What does a recovery plan look like? How do you maintain long-term sustainable practices that show that you're making progress, that you're recovering from these things, and you're also preventing them going forward? Let's talk about it. How do we create a recovery plan? Well, number one, you have to understand what your needs are. When you realize that, hey, I am somewhere I don't want to be and I want things to be different, you have to be truly honest with yourself and give yourself the room and the space to dream. That's why I said prioritizing the rest is going to be important. Yes, for your body, but also for your mind and your emotional well being as well. Having that time to reflect is truly important, because you may still be taking, when you don't have a recovery plan, it may not be all complete. It may be something that you're making for yourself, and it's basically one step at a time. That's where I was through my recovery process from burnout. It was one step at a time. The whole thing was not laid out before me. I had to take it one step at a time. So having the time to reflect, having those quiet reflection moments. Do you reflect when you're on your commute? Are you thinking about the next thing that you got to do, or 12 million other things? When do you take time and space to reflect on what you need for your life in order for it to change? And having those quiet moments, and not even just brainstorming, but having time to reflect and recharge. Whether that's, I need space so I can be still and just, listen to a guided meditation, to be still and go to sleep, just to nap in peace. Take the kids, let them go over their auntie house or somewhere so you can have 15 minutes to yourself if you're a mom, by the way. If not, that's okay. You still may need to get away from your friends or get away from your family just so you can have time to reflect for yourself. Are you getting the spiritual nourishment that you need? Are you reading? Are you meditating? Are you praying? Are you asking for things? Are you journaling things out? Those things that are in your heart, on your mind, that you don't want to tell anybody else. I'm telling you right now, I'm holding up my notebook here because I got stuff in it or whatever. But I just about always have some type of notebook with me now. I just ordered another one. I'm excited that it's coming. uh, but yeah, I have journals for different things. Y'all, I got see all of this. So, but I have journals for all sorts of things, to host different sections of my life. Um, but this isn't about being extensive and having it, but having somewhere where you can unload without judgment to yourself and just release it without fear that somebody else will see it or hear you. You need a space where you can be unfiltered and unedited. And for me, that was in my journal. That was me and God talking, me spilling my heart out, me talking about my dreams, the things that I wanted, how my day went, the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like. And when it didn't feel so good to write those things, I stopped. I started telling myself positive things. And if my hands started hurting while I was writing, I would stop. And sometimes the pages would just be filled with tears. So it's okay. You get into the practice of releasing and recharging and reflecting in a space. You have to have a time for that. Those may be some specific needs, or those are some things that will help you understand what your needs are as well. What changes are you ready to make in your daily routine? There has to be some changes to happen in your daily routine. Everybody's not ready to come out of a state of burnout. They aren't. Some people are. So, are you ready to commit to having a regular break throughout your workday for stretching, for getting some air outside? Are you ready to have a wind down routine in the evening? Having a open and a close time, looking at your different transition times throughout the day and being respectful of those times where you start and then where you stop. Are you ready to do those things? Those are some things that have to go into your plan. Building your support system. So this can be faith-based, this can be through mentorship, this can be through social connections in your communities that you have online, through your church, a paid mentorship or a paid community that you're a part of. Having those support systems will give you the chance to share your wins, get feedback on your learning opportunities. That's what a loss is. I know some people say, "Well, that's wins," and then they're like, "I don't wanna talk about loss." You don't have to talk about the loss. Talk about the learning opportunity that you got, and magnify that. When you're in a space of mentorship, it becomes a mastermind for you because everyone is able to contribute something, and everyone basically shares gold in those spaces because you may be hearing something that somebody else is going through, and you're able to avoid those type of things, or you're able to contribute to it, and that adds to your joy just by contributing. There is so much joy and dopamine responses that will go off in your brain and in your body. It will give you a good old-fashioned feel good just to know that you contributed something positive into a space, and there's a sense of community there and encouragement as well. Those are the spaces that you wanna maintain and go into. So those support systems will help you with your progress, and they will help you with the prevention. Like I said, there has to be some things that we do, high-achieving people, to prevent us from going overboard. Those are boundaries. Those are knowing yourself. Those are the regular check-ins, and those are ways of being compassionate to yourself. I will highly stress the boundaries, putting boundaries in place. You check in with yourself. Do I have the energy to do that? No, I don't. I'm gonna be doing these other things that I'm very passionate about, and I wanna spend my time there with that. And it's gonna be rewarding for me, and I can spend other time here later with this thing or with this organization. And you saying it without feeling bad about it. It's a freedom. It's a release. But you get to that point by understanding what it is that you want, understanding that you're worthy of it, and that everything works together for your good. That's that face muscle that's stretching those things out and understanding what you have access to and how well things will go for you once you start to trust and put those things in place. Now, this is a process that is unique for everyone. It is, but I definitely want to extend to you ways to prioritize yourself. I want that to be the last. If you don't remember anything else that I said, please prioritize yourself and your needs, the things that you need, because this will help you to do what you need to do so much better. You show up in the world and you can do so much more. Your cup is full and you are serving from your own point versus serving from a cracked, chipped, cut up in the world. Hey, how you doing? Good evening, Terrell. Thank you so much for coming in. I see your comment over there. You came in. Awesome. Hello, how are you, sir? So, we're talking about prioritizing yourself right now, and you'll be able to go back and watch the replay on some of the points if you want to as well. But yeah, make sure you prioritize yourself. And I have a e-guide about that in the description link here in this video. It's called From Burnout to Brilliance, Your Self-Care Transformation Guide. That's strategize your self-care, put things in place so you won't be in those burnout cycles. So I am, Terrell said he is blessed. I know that's right. It's a blessing to be a blessing. And thank you. Thank you, sir. Such a fine young man. Thank you. Speaking the truth. Let me stop. I like being silly with y'all. I do. Thank you so much, Terrell. I appreciate you. So we have that free guide available for you all. And that's in the comments below as well. We have some other things rolling out here as well. For this month, I will be contacting, we're gonna have some women who are going to share their burnout stories. I'm gonna share that via post coming up this month. I really want to honor women in their brilliance who have made it through these things, just as a point of encouragement and to people going through burnout and high levels of stress and wondering, man, how does this person do it all? How do I do it all? I just want to have that as an encouragement to you all and also to an encouragement to these ladies as well. God has given me several people to petition about it for them to tell their story, for us to craft it in a way that is honoring and also that is encouraging to other people and is honoring to them. Because even if you're to this and you've experienced something like this before, please don't take it lightly that you survived something that a lot of people never make it out of. You've come out of something that other people just may not have been able. They didn't have the resources, they didn't have the mental fortitude, they didn't have the blessing to come out of those spaces, and they people can be stuck in areas in life for such a long time, and those are the things that I definitely wanna speak out against and help people to move through in life with those things, to not be stuck with that. So that's coming down the pipeline as well, and we got some other things coming up, but definitely stay tuned on the social media handles. I am Dr. Kim of Align with Dr. Kim. So it's Align with Dr. Kim. That's my handle. That's where y'all can find me. I'm gonna put it back up on the screen as well. One more again, as the people say. Align with Dr. Kim. But yes, like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will see y'all in the next one.